It's that time of the year where I want to recap my favorite horror movies I saw released in 2024. So there's been many great horror movies this year. Pretty much since 2021, horror has been resurging into more original pieces, more better adaptations, and just a lot of great horror. 2024 wasn't the best, but it had some damn good ones. I know I said I'm going to stray away from the negative, but there's one I want to get out of the way real quick that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be shocked that isn't on my top 5 list, and that was Oddity. After the brutal murder of her twin sister, Darcy goes after those responsible by using haunted items as her tools for revenge. This movie was critically acclaimed. Directors like Mike Flanagan highly regarded it. I watched it and I just didn't think it was a great movie. It wasn't nearly as scary as it was portrayed to be. Oftentimes that happens. The production quality was great, but the story lacked, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. The movie was made very well. I just thought the slow pacing was far less than a slow burn and more just filler, and I just didn't really relate to the story that much, but that's okay. Let's get into the positive. Let's get into the fun stuff. The movies I loved. Coming in at number 5 is Daddy's Head. I found this movie to be very provocative and riveting. It told a story about grief, tragedy, and loss from the perspective of a young boy, and though it does follow some tropes, such as adults blaming the young boy to be crazy, or everyone not quite believing in the supernatural elements until it's too late, I really thought this movie was creepy, especially with the love and bond that the young boy had with his father. It was clear they did a lot of time building how much he cared about his dad, how much of a great father figure he was to the child. So to have whatever happens, this demonic entity or whatever you want to call it, reincarnate his dad or trick the boy into thinking it's his dad is very haunting, because imagine the person you love the most comes back and instead of just being a ghost, there's something otherworldly. There was some great acting, some great tension, and just a pretty spooky movie. Coming in at number 4, I saw at the beginning of the year, was a movie called Tarot. This one was fun. It was a very Final Destinations meet 13 Ghosts kind of aspect, where it plays off of people's zodiac signs. I know a lot of people out there don't believe in it. They think it's a bunch of hodgepodge. I'm a firm believer in it to an extent. I feel like the universe creates those stereotypes and people use them to their nature. But this one was fun. It was creepy. It was more of a horror comedy. Again, it just had many tropes, kind of like a slasher with supernatural entities that unfold for each zodiac sign. I feel like it's pretty much, your fate is decided based off your flaws of your zodiac sign, which is scary too because we all have flaws. It was pretty comedic. There were some visceral, creepy scenes in it. Some of the creature designs were very awesome, and all around I had a fun time with it. Coming in at number 3 is Sting. Yes, that campy, 8-legged freaks-esque spider movie about the apartment that gets attacked by a tiny little spatial arachnid that comes from a meteor and just torments them. It has a great introduction scene that builds a pace and ambiance and suspense for what the spider can do. There's a lot of comic relief in there. There is that weird mid-story in the middle about the father and daughter's chemistry of a family trying to rekindle itself, which adds a nice little point of trying to make you care about the family, but just the way it is handled is a little bit off-putting. The moments with the spider are really creepy and crawly. The way that every corner you think there's going to be a spider and you're really terrified. There's some nasty spider fluids throughout the movie. It's just a fun time. I had high hopes for this movie and I thought it was going to be a lot better, but it was still very good, don't get me wrong. From the X trilogy, Maxine, this one was highly anticipated for me. I loved Maxine Minx in the movie X. I loved Pearl enough, but Maxine was just a fun homage to the 80s. A lot of people want to dog Ty West because they're like, oh, he just does these pulpy, uninspired hat tips to other genres, and I just feel like that takes a distinct toll because Quentin Tarantino did it for most of his movies and people highly regard Quentin Tarantino. So if you want to knock off Ty West, talk shit about Quentin Tarantino too. A lot of people take homage from their favorite slashers, and with the X trilogy you have the 70s, the 1930s, that Technicolor vibe, and then the 1980s, and I feel like this one did it great. It has that great fall vibe to it. It's not 80s in a cliche way either, like a lot of people try to do the video camera footage and just weird glitches. This one just reminds you of the 80s. It has a fun feel to it. The story of Maxine and the killer, that cat and mouse chase, is very fun. Kevin Bacon has a great appearance in it. It's pretty gory, pretty brutal, and it just twists and turns. Even though the killer is quite predictable at the beginning, it's just a fun movie all around. And let me get into some honorable mentions, kind of, because there are some movies I didn't get to see, but I really am looking forward to seeing Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks. I really hope I can find that streaming or on DVD somewhere. I know that's going to be a banger. I didn't get to see the new Salem's Lot, which I heard was not that good, but I love vampires. And yes, I will still be doing a review on Smile 2 and Terrifier 3 when I can. I still have not seen those ones yet either, so this list is based off the movies that I've seen. And lastly, I want to see Speak No Evil because James McAvoy is the man. But coming in at number 1, it should be no surprise to you. I'm sorry, sometimes when you watch these lists, the number 1 answer is obvious. I'm sorry, but number 1 for me has to be Longlegs. That is right. I find Nick Cage's performance as Longlegs very riveting. Yes, he has his Nick Cage isms in it. He's a little bit quirky and more funny than he should be, but that is what this role needed. A lot of people said it was a take on Silence of the Lambs meets something supernatural. I mean, anytime there's a female protagonist, that's Silence of the Lambs. That's a cop, it's Silence of the Lamb derived. And I understand to an extent, maybe there was a little bit of an inspiration, but this movie was very original with the supernatural aspect, with the demonic aspect that Longlegs comes from, with the almost Stephen King quality of the detective Lee Harker, who has like this ability to be very in tune with supernatural stuff. Her and Longlegs have a deep connection, and the reveal and look of Longlegs himself is pretty creepy and eerie. There were some moments when I saw this movie in the theater twice where I was actually pretty creeped out and up on the edge of my seat, and at my age, being creeped out is good enough. And yeah, guys, that's my list. I was going to put Hellboy the Crooked Man in there because that's probably my favorite movie of the year, but I know a lot of people are going to be like, it's not really horror, even though technically it is. It's a horror superhero movie. That's my favorite movie of the year, if you were wondering. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Since I kickstarted this channel, it's been growing pretty well, and I want to thank all the people that have been continuing to show up. I didn't really get into the rhythm of things until probably around May, and I feel like this fan base I have, there's a few of you in the comments that are consistent. I'm going to shout you out in a future video, so thank you so much. This has been one hell of a year. It's been one great time. Please subscribe, give me a thumber, hit that ding-a-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here, and I'm going to say it 1 time for the 1 time and 2 time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for what? It's for horror. You knew that. You've been watching this channel for a while.
This show business. You never work in this town again.